He should have been somewhere over Nevada. The flight, American 2473, was delayed 3 hours, gate change, mechanical issues. Ethan Calloway took it as a sign, maybe not divine, but something. He'd laughed about it to the cab driver, said, "At least I'll get to sleep in my own bed tonight." The driver had smiled without looking up. Now the key turns easily in the lock. Too easily. No bolt, no chain. That alone gives him pause. Lauren always double-locked, even when he just stepped out for groceries. He steps inside. The house breathes its usual silence. A cool, curated silence. The kind bought with restoration hardware catalogs and weekend trips to Home Goods. The kind Lauren liked to post on Instagram with captions like "Sanctuary." Ethan sets his suitcase down by the bench. The hallway light flickers overhead. The same bulb she's reminded him to change for weeks. He told her he'd get to it. He hasn't. Now it blinks like a warning. He thinks about the wine they opened before he left for Chicago. Half a bottle of red still on the rack. Her favorite. He brought a bottle of that same vintage back for her, now sweating slightly in his bag, unopened. Then he hears it. Not a noise. A sound. Wet. Rhythmic. Breath layered over breath. A woman's moan. Then a man's voice. Not groaning. Laughing. Ethan's body doesn't react. No heart race. No stumble. Just a stillness, heavy as a power outage. He walks, each step slow, deliberate. Carpeted stairs mute the weight of his shoes. His hand hovers near the railing. He doesn't need it. He's steadier now than he's been in months. The door is ajar. That door has been repainted twice since they moved in. Lauren chose the color. Porcelain plum, she called it. It had never looked plum to Ethan, just cold. Through the gap, sound sharpens. Lauren. He still uses paper planners, Charles. Can you believe that? Like some kind of grandpa with a clipboard? More laughter. Charles Benton. His voice, casual, rich, soaked in condescension. Ethan's boss, his mentor, the man who vouched for him to land the Cross Ridge Tower account. Charles. You're lucky I rescued you. Lauren. From a man who asks for permission to spend on Amazon. Another laugh. Softer, closer, then skin on skin, bed frame tapping drywall. Ethan doesn't look. He takes out his phone, presses record, holds it still. 90 seconds, long enough to capture Lauren's giggle, faintly slurred from wine, long enough to hear Charles call him a neutered dog in a power tie. Long enough. He steps back, leaves the door untouched, footsteps light on carpet like he was never there. In the hallway, he exhales. It's not rage, not even grief. It's emptiness, a vacuum where trust once lived. In the foyer, he double-checks that the front door stays unlocked. He doesn't want to touch anything more than he already has. Back in the cab within minutes. Change of plans, he tells the driver. Midtown, any decent motel, doesn't need to be fancy. The driver glances back. Bad trip? Ethan smiles faintly. Not yet. That night, he stares at a beige motel wall for hours. He doesn't cry, doesn't sleep, doesn't call anyone. He just replays that laugh, that word, neutered, and the way her voice dripped pleasure when she said his name, Charles. The bottle of wine stays zipped inside his suitcase. It'll be months before he touches red again. He didn't sleep, but the motel clock insisted 8 hours had passed. The hum of the mini-fridge filled the silence, a buzzing, almost reassuring monotone. Ethan lay still, hands folded over his chest like a man in a coffin, eyes open, staring into the ceiling's cracked plaster. One question on repeat. How long had she been laughing at him? The plan didn't come as a spark. It settled like dust, slow, inevitable, dull. She'd already written the script. He would just finish the story. Backups, passwords, old statements Lauren assumed he never read. She changed the Wi-Fi name last week. Something cute. Benton Strong. He hadn't thought much of it. Maybe a fitness brand. Maybe a podcast. He knew better now. She had kissed him differently for months. Closed mouth, choreographed, like checking a box. The yoga retreats, too. Sedona, Ojai, Santa Barbara. Always places without cell reception and always preceded by an argument she manufactured out of thin air. He'd offered to go with her once. She'd looked at him like he'd asked to attend her pap smear. "It's not a couple thing," she said. Apparently, Charles was more into downward dog than Ethan realized. By noon, Ethan was at a public library with a flash drive. Downloaded statements, screenshots, calendar exports, every detail archived. Her flights, spa bookings, Venmo transfers labeled room service. Even the Uber receipts from their neighborhood to the W Hotel downtown. Twice, while Ethan was away on back-to-back client pitches. He called a friend at Charles's firm, under the pretense of planning a surprise gift. "What's Charles's travel schedule like? I want to make sure Lauren's isn't overlapping. She's doing yoga retreats again." The answer came with a quiet chuckle. "You've got nothing to worry about. Those two have been inseparable on company travel." The phrase lodged in his chest. Inseparable. Like parasites and hosts. He didn't ask for more. He already had enough. That night, back in the motel, he wrote a single line in a blank notebook. "They didn't just cheat, they conspired, so I'll make them co-stars in their own unraveling." No dramatics, no theatrics, just cold formatting. He bought a burner phone with cash, set up a new cloud folder. He ordered nylon restraints online, reinforced zip ties from a tactical supplier, a high-powered pellet pistol with a steel core, not for harm, for message, for memory. Fear was louder than blood. He booked a session with their estate lawyer, told Lauren he wanted to update the will. She didn't ask why. She never asked any more. The lawyer called Ethan a responsible man. He smiled and nodded, thinking only of how Lauren would try to smile through broken panic when the documents she signed would corner her like an animal. 2 nights later, Ethan walked back through the front door of his own home. Lauren had left it unlocked again, almost like she was asking to be caught. He carried a duffel. Inside, every piece of his new self. He walked past the framed wedding photo, her hand on his chest, her eyes not looking at the camera, not even at him. He wondered if she ever had. The bedroom light was on. Shadows moved behind the cracked door. The same moaning, this time familiar. Charles's voice, low, smug, careless. Lauren's voice, not moaning, laughing. He stepped in. They froze, like teenagers caught in headlights. Lauren's hand reached for the blanket, Charles for his pants. Ethan said nothing. He dropped the duffel. They stared at him like he'd shown up covered in blood. But there was no fury in him, just precision. "I came home to say goodbye," he whispered. Lauren tilted her head, smirked. "Oh, please, Ethan, this little stunt." Then the pellet gun rose. Fast, steady, population. Charles screamed, clutched his thigh. Population Lauren howled. Blood streamed down her ankle. He moved quickly. Restraints, duct tape, calm hands, no struggle. Charles pleaded. Lauren shook, muttered something about therapy, healing, miscommunication. Ethan just observed them. 2 people who once built careers on charisma and poise, now trembling like animals at a roadside vet. "I'm not going to kill you," Ethan murmured, voice almost tender. "That would make you martyrs." He lifted his phone, recording again. "I want the world to know what you sound like when you're cornered." Charles sobbed. Lauren screamed his name, not in love, not even in hate, just fear. That was all Ethan needed. He left them tied up, unharmed, humiliated. Left the front door open just like he found it. Outside, the wind had picked up. He didn't feel it. In his chest, nothing burned, nothing healed, just silence, and the beginning of whatever came next. The bedroom smells of sweat and candle wax and something sour he doesn't want to name. Lauren is curled up by the dresser. Her mascaras bled into her jawline, blotched and cracking. Charles is shirtless, legs spread awkwardly on the floor like he fell mid-stride and never got up. There's blood on his thigh, small, pooled, clotted. He keeps checking it like it might disappear if he stares long enough. They're zip-tied together, wrist to wrist, side by side like lovers on a brochure. Ethan made sure of that, let them squirm inside the same guilt they built together. He sits on the edge of the bed, not the one they shared, no, the guest bed, because the master bedroom suddenly feels too intimate. Lauren sniffles, tries to speak, but the gag mutes her into a pathetic hum. Charles moans through clenched teeth, not in pain, just shame and fear, the kind of fear that smells like aluminum and bile. Ethan doesn't flinch. He scrolls his phone, finds the file, presses play. Lauren's laugh fills the room, the same laugh she used to reserve for Ethan's bad impressions and lazy Sunday dance-offs in the kitchen. It sounds different now, meaner, sharper, like a serrated edge. Dead weight, still asks for permission on Amazon. The recording ends. Ethan doesn't move for a beat, just lets silence close over them like a vacuum-sealed bag. Then, calmly, methodically, he begins reading. July 14th, Santa Barbara. Lauren texts Charles. Room 807 again? You always book better sheets than Ethan. July 20th. Lauren cancels couples therapy. Says she has a migraine. Checks in to W Hotel with Charles. 3 charges to the minibar. 1 for condoms, 1 for Prosecco, 1 for chocolate almonds. Lauren tries to twist away. Charles mutters something behind the cloth. Ethan lowers his phone. His voice is level. You didn't just betray me. You managed it. Like a project timeline. You compartmentalized me. Delegated your guilt. Outsourced your apologies. That's impressive. He stands. Now it's my turn. He takes their phones from the side table. Charles's fingerprint still works, even through the swelling. Ethan uses it, opens apps, bank accounts, Lauren's too. He has the passwords. She used the dog's name. Always something sentimental and stupid. Ethan begins transferring balances. Joint checking? Gone. Retirement fund? Emptied. He leaves her personal account untouched until he sees the balance, $7.49. He smirks. He buys a black coffee from a delivery app, $3.75. Charges it to her debit card. $3.74, he says aloud. That's what you're worth to me now. Then he logs into the brokerage account, sells every mutual fund, moves the money to a private trust in Panama, an account set up 6 years ago before their 3rd anniversary. Back then, he called it a rainy day fund. He never told her where the umbrella was. Next, he drafts an email to Melanie Benton. Dear Melanie, I regret that you're learning this from me, but silence helps no one. Attached is a video recorded Thursday night, along with financial logs and proof of your husband's, well, you'll see. I apologize for the pain, but not for the truth. Ethan Calloway. He attaches the audio, the affair logs, and 2 screenshots, Charles and Lauren mid-embrace. The camera angle isn't flattering. It wasn't meant to be. He schedules the email for Monday morning, enough time for the weekend to rot. He calls Javier, an old law school friend now living in Buenos Aires. They hadn't spoken in years, but favors owed are a currency all their own. Need a fresh ID? Ethan says. Offshore clearance, workable alias, and a quiet place to disappear for 6 months. Javier doesn't ask questions. That's what makes him useful. By sundown, Ethan has changed the alarm code, canceled all utilities, terminated credit cards in both names, and removed Lauren as a beneficiary on his insurance. He feeds them once, granola bars and water, places it between them like communion. They don't eat. They just stare at him, jaws tight, eyes swollen with tears they don't deserve the dignity to shed. At night, he gags them again, not harshly, just enough to make sleep impossible. He sleeps on the couch, on his back. No nightmares. Not anymore. The dreams stopped when the mask slipped. In the quiet hours, when the fridge hums and the sprinklers hiss outside, Ethan speaks to no one, just himself, just the ghosts. He recounts the dinner parties he worked late to fund, the wine tastings he hated but endured because Lauren said networking was important, the weekends Charles borrowed him from his marriage under the guise of mentorship, the missed birthdays, the swallowed slights. He remembers the look on Lauren's face the night he got passed over for partner, how she'd said, "Maybe you're just too safe." He wasn't safe now. In the dark, his voice is low, measured, flat. "You both built a life around pretending. I'm just removing the scaffolding." Charles cries once, choked and guttural. Lauren stares at the ceiling like it might open and deliver her from this. It won't. Ethan lies still on the couch, hands folded again, like that first motel night. He doesn't cry, doesn't rage. He just listens to the silence they gave him. Now, it's their turn. He didn't wake them. They looked peaceful now, in that grotesque mannequin sort of way. Lauren's lip was split. Charles's shirt was soaked in fear sweat and silence, their wrists still bound, bruises beginning to bloom like violets across pale skin. Two bodies in a home stripped of comfort, light, or noise. Ethan stood by the window and watched the morning roll in, pale sun over the hedges. A dog barked down the street. Someone started a car, probably late for a dentist appointment. Life ticked forward, numb to the wreckage inside this house. He wrote a note in block letters and taped it to the nightstand. "This is mercy. Don't confuse it with weakness." Then he moved like muscle memory. Wiped surfaces, doorknobs, the chair, faucet, knife handle, remote, door frame. He erased the footage. One tap, gone. Not for them, for him. He didn't need to watch it ever again. The burner phone cracked easy under the heel of his shoe. Plastic shattered. Silence followed. But before he left, he pressed send. Melanie Benton's email would land in 5 minutes. A private message, a public reckoning, and an anonymous call would ping LAPD dispatch 5 minutes after that. 2 people tied up in a home in Westwood. Possible domestic disturbance. Unclear if it's a prank or not. Worth a look. He paused in the hallway. Looked down the corridor one last time. The photo frames, wedding pictures, laughing mouths, champagne flutes, lies. One in particular. Lauren's hand resting on his chest, like he was hers to keep. She was smiling so hard her teeth showed. But her eyes were already somewhere else. He left through the back gate. The air smelled different in Palm Springs, like burnt sand and engine fuel. Clean in a way that had nothing to do with purity. Private terminal. No questions. Just a man with a one-way ticket, a black duffel, and a calm pulse. Tbilisi. He'd never been. But the mountains were supposed to be beautiful, and nobody asked too many questions there. He watched a plane roll across the tarmac, blinking against the desert sun. No headlines, no sirens, no chaos. Just a clean line between past and present. Memory cuts quick and without warning. Lauren's wedding dress, too tight across the ribs. She'd whispered to her maid of honor that she couldn't breathe, but wouldn't let the tailor touch it again. "Beauty is discomfort," she'd said. Charles, the first time they met, leaning across a conference table, faux modesty in his smile. "You're the guy who pulled off the Langford Tower? Impressive." Ethan had thanked him, grateful back then to be seen. The 10th anniversary, toasts, friends, champagne. Lauren's eyes glassy as she thanked Ethan for his stability, his steadiness, his constancy. The pause before that last word had lasted a second too long. She had already started sleeping with Charles. That toast was the first time Ethan realized she was rehearsing her guilt in public. His seat on the plane is window side. Leather. Quiet. A steward nods but doesn't speak. Ethan's boarding pass is under a different name. No wedding ring, no phone, no social media trail, just a folder of documents in the duffel and a fresh passport he doesn't quite believe in yet. He doesn't feel victorious. He doesn't even feel free. But he feels clean, as if all the filth had been scrubbed from his skin and poured into their hands. Let them carry it now. Let them explain the wounds, the zip tie cuts, the missing money, the audio files, the look in Melanie's eyes when she sees that clip. That was theirs now. All Ethan had left was silence. He didn't believe in God, but he believed in aftermath. The jet lifted gently, engine low and steady like a breath held in the dark. He didn't look back. Not at the desert, not at the house, not at the city where he built his life and watched it rot from the inside out. Revenge hadn't healed him, but it had stopped the bleeding. And sometimes, that's enough. The water moves differently here. Slower, like it's never in a rush to be anywhere. Ethan watches the Black Sea lap against the cracked wooden hull of a borrowed boat. He doesn't own much now. A small shack with a tin roof. A cash register that doesn't open unless he kicks it. A passport in a name that still tastes strange in his mouth. Locals call him Luca. Some think he's Turkish. Others say he's ex-military. No one asks twice. That's what makes this place perfect. He rents out boats to tourists who think it's romantic to row through fog at dawn. He hands them paddles and smiles. They tip well. They take selfies. They leave. He likes that they leave. There are days when he goes full hours without hearing English. That helps. Keeps the past in its cage. But some memories don't respect borders. Lauren resurfaced online 2 months after the incident. Victim of coercion, she wrote. Emotionally manipulated by a controlling husband. Her eyes in the video still glistened. The angles were good. She knew her light. For a while it worked. Sympathy poured in. A few influencer deals, affiliate links, #healing. Then the audio leaked. Not his doing. He never sent it to the press, never planned to, but someone forwarded it to a podcast, a woman's voice. He still asks for permission to spend on Amazon. A man's laugh. Neutered dog in a power tie. The internet did the rest. Sponsors fled. Comments turned. The apology videos came next. I was in a dark place, she said. I made mistakes. She always said mistakes like they happened without her. Last Ethan heard, she was living in her sister's spare room in Scottsdale, selling overpriced beauty kits to middle-aged women who wanted contouring tips from someone who used to matter. She still posts affirmations. Let go of what no longer serves you. Reclaim your story. She signs them with butterfly emojis. Ethan wonders if she ever wakes up thinking she might still be asleep. Wonders if she's capable of shame. Then he wonders why he still wonders at all. Charles unraveled differently. Melanie left the night the email arrived. Didn't even yell. Just packed a bag and took the kids. That kind of silence always scares men like him more than screaming. She sued him for everything. House, assets, custody. She won. Charles spiraled. Lost the firm. Lost his reputation. Tried starting a consulting business. Rumor has it he's now somewhere in Nicaragua, working with ex-corporate criminals who lost their licenses. He sent Ethan an email once, a plea buried under false humility. I get it. I deserve what happened. But please, let's talk. Ethan never opened it. Never deleted it either. It just sits in a junk folder like a corpse nobody has claimed. There are moments now, rare but real, when Ethan forgets his own name. Not Luca, not Ethan, just absence. The weightlessness of not being anyone. A woman once invited him for tea. She had kind eyes and a lazy accent. Georgian, but touched by Paris. She asked where he was from. He said, nowhere. She didn't ask again. He liked that about her. She left a scarf behind one afternoon. Pale green, the shade Lauren used to wear when she wanted Ethan to think she was soft. He folded it carefully, never returned it. It lives in a drawer, unworn. People talk about closure like it's a door you get to shut and walk away from. They never mention the drafts, the cold that sneaks in through the frame. Ethan doesn't want closure. He wants stillness, space between thoughts, a silence that doesn't demand to be explained. He walks the pier at night. Lights flicker in the distance. Voices echo from the taverns, some in languages he's starting to understand, but never enough to belong. He's okay with that. There's peace in not belonging. Sometimes when the sea is calm and the sky turns the same shade of ash as memory, he thinks about what he left behind. Not the house, not the business, not even Lauren. He thinks about who he was, the version of him that forgave too quickly, that made himself smaller to fit into rooms she wanted to shine in, that called her beautiful on days she didn't deserve it. That man's dead. He doesn't grieve him, but he honors the silence that came after. The boat rocks beneath his feet, a soft creak, like an exhale. Tomorrow he'll varnish the oars, replace a rope, mend something simple. Today he lets the water hold him, not for healing, just to float. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.